So first of all, let's see an example of a bakery shop which sells bread, and so we're gonna have a certain amount of production done at some point, and so we're gonna check if that production point is met. And in order to do this, we're gonna use nested if-else statements. And how we can implement this is quite simple. We just have to check if we're at halfway done, or if we're not, then we're going to see where we are exactly at every moment in time. And so in order to make these checks, we're going to go in this onCreate method, and we're going to see how we can implement them. So first of all, what we need to do is to set up some variables. And so I'm going to say int bread count equals let's say 45. So this is the current number we are at. That's how many we produced already. And we're gonna have amount required, a variable. And so I'm just gonna change this into capital R so we respect the naming convention for variables, and it is 100, the amount that we need to have. So we're almost halfway through, and so we want to check the progress for this production. And in order to do this, I'm just going to use an if statement. And so what I'm going to say is if bread count is equal, so just notice that I'm using this double equals for checking of equality, and then I'm checking if it's equal to the amount required divided by 2. So if we're halfway done, then I'm just going to display a message, and I'm going to say half of amount required was just is done. Okay, so we have half of the amount required done, and otherwise we're gonna go on the else statement. And so if it's not equal to 100 over 2 or just 50, then it can be lower than 50 or greater than 50. So in order to know what exactly our progress is, we're just going to go and create another if statement. So as you can see, I'm just going to say if the bread count is greater than the amount required over 2, and also I want to know if it's lower than the amount required. So we have all the three cases implemented right now. If it's equal to half of the amount, if it's greater than the half of the amount, and otherwise it's just gonna be lower than the half of the amount. So we just have to display some messages according to the progress. So I'm just gonna say more than half of the amount required is done. So I'm just gonna copy paste this text. I'm just gonna say more than half of the amount required is done, and right here I'm gonna use a toast message as well, and I'm gonna say less than half of the amount required is done. And so at this point we're expecting to see that less of the amount required is done, and we're gonna go right now and run our application just by running this emulator, and we're gonna see the message displayed on the screen. And this is how you can use this nested if-else statements. As you can see, we have inside this else branch we have an if-else. Now we can also, if we change a bit this condition, we can make it a bit different, and we can change also these parameters. If you want, we can make it 50. You will see that half of the amount required is done. And so I'm just going to run the emulator and show you how it works. And as you can see, that's what it is displayed on the screen. This is one example. You can also use them in many other cases, and as you can see, they're very useful whenever you have to deal with certain kinds of states in a progress of some kind of activity. And also we can delete these things right here, and you will see another example right now in which we're gonna use a chain of if-else statements. And so how this works, I'm just gonna show you by using also an example of a bakery that sells a limited amount of drinks. And so let's say that the drinks that we have are only just gonna list them right here: Americano, coffee, and then lemonade, cappuccino, and let's just use one more. Let's say green tea. So these are the ones that we're gonna have to list the price for. So let's say if we have an item and we don't know exactly, we just get it as a string. So we have this input from the user or just somewhere from our application. Let's say the user selects something, one of these ones, and we just want to compute the price for it. And so we have this string product selected by the user in our online store for this bakery. And so product selected equals, let's say, this green tea. Okay, and now we want to know what's the price for it. So I'm just going to use this int price. First of all, I'm going to set it equal to 0, or rather it would be better to use a float. So either a float or a double would work. We just want to make sure that it's a decimal variable, so we can hold decimal places. Probably not all the prices will be whole numbers, so that's why I'm using this kind of variable. And right now, in order to set up the price, I'm just going to show you an example how it works. I'm going to use first of all an if statement. So I'm going to say if product selected dot equals, because I just want to make sure if it is let's say if it is an Americano coffee, then the price, it will be, let's say, $2.35. And also I want to make sure that I'm using this f, so I'm specifying it's a floating point number. Otherwise, if I would have double right here, I didn't need this f. And otherwise, in order to go on the next branch, because I have more other options, as you can see right here, we have 3 more options. I can't really go only on this if on this else statement and just specify them all right here. I just want to go on this else if statement. So as you can see right now, I can also put one more conditions right here, and I'm gonna say if the product selected equals, and I'm gonna say lemonade. Okay, and so right now we're gonna have the price, let's say 3.35, and then f to make sure that it's a floating point number. And as you can see, if it is an Americano coffee, we have this price. Otherwise, if it is equal to this string, it will have this price, and so on. So now right now we have also 2 more options to cover. So we're gonna say else if. And so this is how we use this chain of else if statements. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check if the product selected equals to, let's say, a cappuccino. Okay, and then the price will be equal to, let's say, 4.50. And also I want to make sure it's a floating point number. And otherwise, let's say we only have these items. So if I know it's not an Americano or not a green tea or not a cappuccino, then I know it's going to be a green tea. So or actually what I mean is that if it's not the first option, not the second option, not the third options, and we know that we only have 4 options, then it must be the last option that we have right now. So you don't have to say if the product is a green tea, because you know that the only option left is this one, so it's gonna be a green tea. So we're gonna set up the price for green tea, and then the price we're just gonna say it's 5.50, and then f. And so as you can see right now, these are the prices that we just set up. I'm just gonna list them again right here. So for Americano is 2.35. Then for lemonade it's gonna be 3.35. For cappuccino is gonna be 4.50, and for green tea is gonna be 5.50. So let's say if we have green tea selected, I'm just gonna show you the message that's gonna be displayed. So I'm gonna use a toast message, and I'm just gonna say right now, let's see the product selected. So product selected plus has a price of, and then we're gonna add the price of the item. And as you can see, it works pretty much dynamically, and we're expecting to see right now 550 because that's how we set up this price. And so I'm running the emulator. I'm going to show you a bit more examples with the other ones, how they work. And so we just see what we expected to see. Now if we are using something different, if we're choosing the first option, then we're expecting to see this 2.35. So I'm just going to run the emulator, and that's what we're expecting to see. And as you can see, that's exactly what it is. Now it works the same for all the other ones. Now keep in mind that if you, for example, or the user inputs something different than all these strings that I specified right here, then it's gonna go on the else branch and it's gonna set up this price. But we're assuming that the input from the user is correct.